All right, howdy and good afternoon. Welcome to our first Parent and Family Web Chat of the semester. We're excited to have you all here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about student involvement. The web chat is being recorded. The recording of the web chat will go on the Aggie Family's webpage as well as our social media. So if you would like to access it later, or you know folks who were unable to log in, they will be able to do that after we get that posted later this week. My name is Libby Daggers, and I'm the coordinator for Parent and Family Programming in New Student and Family Programs. And I'm excited that we are co-hosting our web chat today with our Student Organization Development and Administration team. So they're going to provide some great information about student involvement and how your student can be involved and how you can encourage your students and support them through the involvement process. I'm getting some notes that there's some echoing, so give me just a second. Let me see if I can fix our audio, and then we'll keep rolling. All right, hopefully maybe that might have helped a little bit, but just if you'll keep putting in notes if there's anything that you can't hear, see, something's not working, let us know so we can keep adjusting. So I wanted to just start a little bit. There's a lot of information here on this slide, and really the point of it is just to say that while we know some families, especially if you maybe have a first-year student, they've only been on campus now for a couple weeks, you may feel a little hesitant about your students' involvement because you fear it might take away from their studies or interfere with their ability to be successful academically. And while it's true, there are students who may find themselves focusing too much on their organizations and involvement, and that can have an impact on their academics and grades. There's a lot of research that shows that through student involvement, students gain a lot. So students gain a lot of leadership and other skills that are both helpful during their time here at A&M and then in the workforce and in their years after graduation. It gives them a lot of great opportunities for development and leadership and gives them some purpose. So there's a lot of research, and so I just wanted to share that. Some of our families may not necessarily know that, and that there's a lot of really great things that come through student involvement. So a tip that we typically will like to give families when we get questions is that you should definitely encourage your students to be involved, but kind of caution them. Maybe start with one or two things to be involved in rather than jumping right into a lot of different organizations, especially if they are a first-year student and trying to get acclimated to campus and getting used to life here at Texas A&M. So as I mentioned, we're really excited to partner with Student Activities and our SOTA team. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over and let Benjamin jump on and share some information with you about more specifically about involvement.
Perfect. Sounds great. So let me know real fast if you cannot hear me. But I'm going to go ahead and start with the section. So once again, my name is Benjamin Stalvey. I work in the Department of Student Activities, specifically with our student organizations area, which we call SOTA. So if you ever hear your students talking about offices that work with student orgs, SOTA would be the office that they would probably refer to. But we're going to run through opportunities, one, to find really how to plug in and get involved if you're a student on this campus. And so I'm going to list a couple different ways to do that. And then if you have questions or need any other pointers there, just feel free to add things in the chat and we'll circle back to that later to talk through it. So a couple things, as you can see on this slide in front of you, we have over 1,100 student organizations. That number is actually closer to 1,200 at this point, and we have new ones forming every single day. And so you can see that we break them down into a variety of different categories that focus on different things. And so I won't read all these to you, but a few of them include recreation, religious, global service, community service, student government, spirit and tradition, because we're at A&M, so tradition is really infused through a lot of these things. But another one I wanted to point out specifically are the academic-based organizations. I know Libby was talking about on the last slide sometimes there can be a fear that organizations detract from academic pursuits, but really a lot of organizations can be oriented around academic programs, which actually will enhance your students' ability to build a community around what they're studying and sharpen those skills as well. So a lot of times those can overlap. But yeah, so we'll move forward and see really how you would find opportunities to get involved on our campus. So the first one is going to be going to our website, studentactivities.tamu.edu. That's our department's website. And what you'll see when you pull up that website is there's a couple headers. And the very first one is get involved. That's the very first header that you see. If you hover over that, the first option is organization search, and that will pull up for you this search bar here. And so what you can do is you can search by letter or by category, type, and you'll be able to find keywords there that point you to maybe interests that your student has and wants to include in their experience while they're here at A&M. So you can go ahead, if you clicked into one of these, it would take you to another web page. And so what it would do here is you would be able to type in specifically names around different organizations or keywords. There's also a questionnaire that they can fill out really quickly where it walks them through, what academic program are you in? Do you want to do community service? Do you want to do international service? Are you interested in large groups or small groups? To kind of get the type of experience students want, because some of our students love the high energy of large groups. Some love really small groups and localized relationships. And so you can fill out that survey, and StudAct Online will actually generate for you as well a list of organizations that would meet those interests of yours, which is really kind of a cool tool. So the Student Activities website is what will lead you as the portal to get to the StudAct Online listing here that will pull up any organization that respond to your keyword search or interest search. Yeah, Libby, keep going to the next one. And then what you would do is if you click into an organization's site, it will show you a little bit more about their profile. So, for example, this is the Family Weekend Committee. This is an organization that Libby works really closely with. And so this just outlines who they are, what they do, if there's membership dues, when their big events are, really just some basic information about what the snapshot is for that student organization, if there is further interest for you to learn about that organization. And then go ahead to the next one as well. Yeah, and then this is that questionnaire that I was telling you a little bit about earlier. So we call it Org Match, and you're able to go through. It's a quick, I think that there's only about 25-ish lines that you rate on a scale from 1 to 5 how interested you would be in a topic or not. And then it generates for you a list of orgs that could meet your interests. And so if students don't even know necessarily yet what they might be interested in or where to start looking, they can just tell us what they like, and we can generate for them a list of things. So so to summarize, this first tool for you to use, you can access through the Student Activities website on the Get Involved tab. So that's the first one. The second one we will talk about now. So this is maybe a little bit more user-friendly of an access point, but this site is called Marin Link, and you can access this by going to marinlink.tamu.edu. And this is basically the online portal for the catalog for all of our student organizations, and even a lot of our departments on campus use this. So academic departments, student life departments also will have pages and post their events up through this site. So I'm going to walk you through a couple things. The first thing to say, in the top right-hand corner, you'll see the big blue sign-in button. That's going to be really important for your student to do so that they can start putting all of their interests or all their potential organizations in one place. If they don't sign in, they'll just view it from a public access point. But if they sign in, they can start tracking who they're engaging with and the events they might be interested in going. So encourage them to sign in. And then you can click on that Organizations tab that's up at the top header. And when you click on that, it will take you to the next page. which is basically just the list of all the organizations. So there's a search pane there on the left-hand side where you can either type in a keyword or you can search by those categories that I showed you and walked you through the first slide that I was talking about today. If you don't use that search pane, then as you can see, it's just going to list all 1,200 student organizations there for you, which is a little unruly. And so definitely use the search bar there to the left to kind of crank that number down to a more bite-sized list for yourself. Yeah, and then you can go on to the next slide. Perfect. And the other tab to know here is events. So sometimes joining an organization might be a bigger commitment than some students want to take on, especially right at the start of their college experience. And so we want them to be involved. We know that pays dividends for them in their career preparation and their academic pursuits. But if they want to ease in through just going to some events on campus, you can go to Marin Link, and this has the online catalog for events as well. So you could click that events tab, and then what that will lead you to on the next slide is a listing of all the events that are upcoming on campus. And so a lot of our organizations will post their events on here. A lot of departments, once again, post their events on here as well. And so you can see to the left, once again, is the search pane that you can use to filter things out. As you can see, use the perks search bar and search for free food, because I organize most of my life around the necessity of food. And so they can do that and just hop to wherever is going to feed them dinner for that night. But you can also look at the dates of certain events or the themes around events, so that if they want to go to an event that is in line with something they're already interested in, they can search by those categories or those themes. But yeah, so if you would click in on one of those events, then what it will do is basically tell you more about that event. So it'll tell you the date and time, the location, the description of the event, the perks that might be coming along with that event as well. But one of the best features of this tool is if you look at the bottom of this screen, you will see that there lists out other events hosted by that department or that organization. So if your student were to go to an event for the free food, but really enjoy themselves, then they could follow up with this event page and find out when those people might be at an event again later. So it's a nice way to organize for them how to follow up with maybe similar organizations over time if they really do enjoy themselves at one of these events. Yeah. Perfect. So the last thing that I will walk through real fast is the new student organization process. So we have, like I said, new organizations popping up all the time. We have, like I said, almost 1,200, but sometimes there still are interests or hobbies that maybe aren't included in an organization at this point. So all that we require for organizations to do is to find one other student and faculty or staff advisor. So there's 3 people overall that are needed to start an organization: 2 student leaders and 1 advisor. And then what you would do is go to our student activities website, you would put in an application, and then that would get you on our radar, and we will basically walk students through the whole pipeline from that point. And so we have staff people who are dedicate a lot of their time just to this process. And so they go to a big informational, they sit down with one of us in this office individually, and we walk through, what do you want to start? Why would you like to start that? What are the big events you might want to put on? And we do some coaching before they ever get to operating around what are some of the risks they might interact with and how can we mitigate some of those things. So we do personalized coaching before they even get off the ground. And then we also educate them around the rules and the policies of what it means to be a Texas A&M student organization and carry that brand with what they do. So it's a pretty intuitive process, and we walk them through that whole thing. We also are more than welcoming to walk students through finding involvement opportunities. And so if they don't want to start an organization, they're just having trouble finding something, point them to our office and they can pop in anytime. And we have student workers, grad students, and professional staff like myself who will walk them through that process and look at Marin Link with them. And whittle down some of their interests. So our office, once again, is the Student Organization Development and Administration Office, or SODA, and we can be found in the Coldest Student Services building. We're on the first floor of the of that building. And you can email us at soda@stuact.tamu.edu. So definitely capture that email. And then if you need anything as parents, or if your students are needing anything on the involvement or organizational side of their college experience, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So, yeah.
Thank you, Benjamin. That was awesome. He's going to stick around, so as we wrap up, when we get to the questions portion, if you have follow-up questions for any of the information that he talked about or things that he mentioned that SOTA does, then we can go ahead and get those addressed. And we're going to transition here to our next portion of it, but there's some information that I wanted to share, and it's actually the reason that we started hosting this involvement web chat in the first place. A couple years ago, we were hearing from a lot of family members, and particularly of first-year students, that they were very surprised that a lot of the organizations at Texas A&M had maybe a somewhat rigorous process in terms of joining them. And that might have been very different than what students were used to. While we certainly have a lot of organizations that are come one, come all, you can just join, several of our organizations do require students to fill out an application, participate in interviews, which could be one interview, it could be a couple different rounds of interviews, before they are even selected to be a part of the organization. So this is really important, and something that you as families can really help us with communicating with students is, first of all, right now it's a very busy time on campus. I don't think you could walk across campus without being handed a flyer or seeing a banner of an organization that's recruiting for new members. So there's definitely a lot of options, but reminding your students to keep their options open and applying for more than one organization, because there is a potential that your student may not get into the first organization that they apply for. So I'm encouraging them to look at a lot of different options, and we particularly hear this around students who are applying to meet in freshman leadership organizations or flows. They may only apply for flows and not get into one, and then feel a little let down and not sure what to do next. So encouraging them to really seek out several different options on campus, see what's available to them. And as Benjamin said, SOTA is available to help students, narrow down and look at different options. But we feel like as families, it's important for you to know that this is the process, so you're not surprised if your student reaches out to you the next few weeks, maybe with some disappointment, and perhaps that they didn't get into an organization that they were really hoping to get into, and encouraging them to keep trying and finding different options for them. So as we kind of wrap up here, we called in one of our outstanding student leaders to share a little bit with you about what she's been involved in here on campus, how she got involved, and the reasons she's been involved, how she balances it all. So I'll let her give a little spiel here and tell you some information, and then when we open it up for questions, if you have questions specifically for Madison, you can put those in the chat box as well, and we'll get them answered.
So howdy, my name is Madison Cordell. I'm an orientation team leader here at Texas A&M University for the Aggie Orientation Leadership Program, which is part of the New Student Family Program, part of the New Student Conferences. I know that's a lot, but I know that there's a lot to do to get involved on campus. For me, my freshman year, personally, I was in a living learning community. So it was a full year of me living with my friends, taking the same classes as them, fun stuff like that. This past year, I joined the Aggie Orientation Leader Program, my bad there. And I was able to connect with people from all walks of life and develop friendships I hadn't before. I got involved with this specifically because I loved talking to new students. I realized as now I'm a senior, I love talking to freshmen and transfer students. I love answering their questions. It's just gotta find what suits you the best though, as a student. Personally, I've never been rejected from an org. I've had tons of friends who have been, and you just gotta learn that there are other things to do on campus and that life will move on. We just gotta find where you fit in. Also, I balance my life here on campus and with my organization, everything else I have to do. I put myself on 24-hour schedule, honestly. I map out each minute of almost every day to the point where I know what I need to be doing and how to keep on top of what I need to be doing. I actually found out about that from the Academic Success Center. That's a great resource here on campus. I will point that out every time people ask me how I get to where I am academically and professionally. That's one of the main places of how. I have gained a lot of skills and benefits as well from doing what I've been doing, especially at the Aggie Orientation Leader Program. I've made friendships with people who I never thought I'd be friends with my first 2 or 3 years. I really didn't have that many friends or people I could talk to, but now I have a whole team behind me who's willing to talk to me, help me out whenever I need it. I've also learned how to communicate better with others, especially when it comes to groups of people. I've actually been in charge of 30 students before at one time. That sounds terrifying. It's not really anymore. I've also learned how to talk in front of crowds, like I am doing right now. Even though I can't see you all, you're there. And then, honestly, it's not hard to get involved here on campus. Your students, whether they're freshmen living on or off campus or commuter students who are older, they could walk outside of a dining hall, the Memorial Student Center, anywhere on campus. They're handing out flyers. There's banners everywhere, and it's not hard to get involved. It really isn't. You just have to find what you want to do. And then, yeah.
Great. Well, thank you, Madison, for sharing. Like I said, if you have questions specifically about her experiences, feel free to put them in the chat box, and we will work on getting them answered. The Aggie Orientation Leader Program is recruiting right now, so if you have students that are interested in being an orientation leader, that is definitely a great option. The Aggie Parent and Family Ambassadors, which is formerly Family Weekend, is also recruiting, and there's lots of options. So we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. So our preference is if you'll just go ahead and type questions in the chat box, and we will either respond to them via chat or hop back on the line if it's something we want to make sure that everybody hears. But that's the end of the formal presentation, but we were going to stick around for a while. So any questions that you have about involvement, feel free to go ahead and get those messaged, and then we will get them answered for you. Thanks.
Hey everyone, this is Benjamin Stalvey again from SOTA. I was going to make a quick announcement about a couple things. One, I want to talk real fast about a roadblock that sometimes I see with students who are maybe slow to join in to student organizations. One of those pieces sometimes is finances. Sometimes it's hard to give up your time to go towards involvement when financially you may not be able because you need to work or get a job or have income. And so I love sharing a little bit from my college experience. I not only was a resident assistant for housing, but also a tour guide for my undergrad university, and both those were paid ways for me to get involved and to find a community and to serve my campus and my university. But it was also a job for me. And so I would say encourage your student as well. If for any reason there is a hesitation around finances, there are probably opportunities to find on-campus jobs that function in some ways very similarly to organizations, and allow you to be able to do that too. And so a lot of times those opportunities will be recruited for on campus just like organizations, and they can always ask if there are any perks to joining those things. Another quick shout out. So I also advise, a part of my full-time job is advising Carpool, which is the free Safe Ride program on campus. And so we have a group of about 120 to 150 students any given semester who give up some of their weekend nights to drive other students home so that they get home safe and sound. And so it's a neat group of students who give up their time to serve their fellow Aggies, to make sure people who either can't drive or maybe shouldn't be driving are safe and keeping the community safe. And so they're recruiting now too for the next 2 weeks. So if your student has any type of interest or passion around helping to prevent drinking and driving or just unsafe driving in general, carpool could be a really cool opportunity for them. And so tell them to keep an eye out for the lime green carpool signs on campus the next couple weeks.
There were a couple questions about finding more specifics about organizations, whether they're to a specific class year or if they're open or require interviews. Benjamin, can you correct me if I'm wrong? Isn't a lot of that information listed on the Student Activities website in the organization's profile?
Yes, so in the StuAct online portal that our website takes you to, we ask questions around, are there dues required? What is the onboarding process? Are there interviews? So a lot of times the StuAct profile will list that out. If organizations are good about keeping up their Marin Link profiles, which most of them are, but a few of them aren't fully, then that information would also be listed on Marin Link. The neat thing about Marin Link as well, which I didn't cover specifically, is that every organization, when their page is generated for their org, is also assigned a primary contact, and it's typically the president of the organization or someone who's their public relations person. And so you can go to their Marin Link page, click on the public contact and our primary contact, and it'll generate for you their email information. And so your student could email directly to the person who's been dubbed as the primary contact if they have questions around when recruitment is, what is the recruitment process like, are there dues, those types of things. So Marin Link should be able to either give you those answers or give you the contact person to go and ask for the answers of those questions.
I think we've answered a lot of the questions already. We're working on a few of the last ones, but we'll stick around a couple more minutes. So if you have other questions, if you'll go ahead and get those answered so we can work on getting them answered.
All right, hello. I see a couple questions being posted that, Olivia, I hope it's okay. I'm just going to jump in and maybe provide an answer or two. One of them asked about a Marin Link page for a specific group. I believe it's the American Society of Mechanical Engineers. I see that Marin Link page functioning right now when I'm looking at it. So it could be a browser thing, but from time to time, it is good to note that occasionally a Marin Link page might go down. Every year, we require our organizations to go through a re-recognition process. And if the leaders of that organization miss some of those deadlines, we'll freeze a couple of their accounts until they can kind of get back on top of things. And coming back out from the summer, students are back on campus and they're excited and energized, so they're getting back on things. So if you encounter a page that's not working or isn't showing up as being updated, sometimes it's because they're working on getting that re-recognition piece done. The other thing I saw was timelines for organizations. There really isn't a set timeline. Different organizations do recruitment at different times. A lot of orgs are out recruiting right now because it's the start of the year and they want to make sure that they are providing incoming transfer students with all the information they might need to find a home and find an outlet for involvement. But different orgs have different timelines. So some have due dates in the next couple weeks. Some won't even start recruiting till towards the end of this semester, depending on kind of their rhythms as an organization. So if you ever have questions specifically around specific organizations and their timelines, once again, you could look at the primary contact that's listed on their Marin Link page. Sometimes those dates are even listed on the Marin Link page. Or if you have general questions about organizations tied to the School of Engineering, then you could also shoot us an email and we can work to get you connected with any staff person in that college that might have a better pulse on when their organizations might be recruiting and things like that. So I'm trying to answer a few of those, Libby. I'm not sure if you're seeing any other questions that you want to tackle as well.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you. A couple people have asked about students missing out on parts of Howdy Week. They can always go back to the Howdy Week website and review any of the programs that were offered during Howdy Week. And if they want to follow up with a specific organization or presenter, then they're welcome to do so. The information that we are sharing with you today, this presentation was specifically designed for families, but as soon as we get it posted, you are welcome to share it with your students, and the information is definitely relevant to them, and they may not even know about all of the resources in terms of searching and finding organizations. So feel free to share the link once we post the recording, which probably will happen later today or first thing tomorrow, but please feel free to share that. I don't see any other remaining questions that I don't believe that we got answered. We'll hang out for just a couple more minutes and then I'll go ahead and end the meeting. I did want to make sure new student and family programs, our contact information is up here. And I know Benjamin shared his earlier, but you can contact either one of our offices if you have questions. If they're very specific to involvement, then you definitely want to send them to SOTA. But more kind of general, you know, we're here to support Aggie families, and there's a typo, there's an E missing. It's Aggie families, and contact us and we'll make sure that we can help in any way that we can. Thank you for joining us. We are excited to have this be our first web chat of this semester, and we'll be releasing some information about our schedule for the rest of the semester, having about one web chat a month. So thank y'all for joining us. And again, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to follow up.